So we just look at mark as an example of what we did last week, right? So we start with our address on top, and then we skip a line. We have the date. We skip a line. If we know the name of the person we're writing to, we put that. But we didn't know, so we put our job title. And then we put the name of the organization. And then we put the address, right? Then we skip another line and we put a greeting. So dear sir or madam. Sorry. Right. We put a subject line. So we put complaints about expired item. Right. So just briefly, what is the letter going to be about? Right. Okay. Then we had our letter, and looking at it, just looking at it, guys, do you all think if you got this in email, it would feel like it was hard to read? No. Right. Okay, good. And that's the objective, right? You want the reader to not feel overwhelmed, so you don't want to put in too much information. You want to help them make sense of what you're saying. So you will use paragraphs to help you, and they will be short paragraphs in a letter. If it's an essay, the paragraphs need to be longer. But for a letter or an email, shorter paragraphs, right? Okay, so in the chat, a student is suggesting that maybe there are a lot of I's in the letter. I does get repeated a lot. So I am a customer, I am writing, I. Now, if you are writing a letter and you feel like you have repeated something too much, by all means, you could reword it. So for example, if we were rewording this, last Thursday, 21st July, we say on visiting your store to make my weekly grocery shopping trip. As usual, I something. If we take out the I, we have to think about the grammar, right? I would like to request a phone call at your earliest convenience to resolve this matter. We could say my phone number is instead of saying I, right? So if you find the I is too repetitive, then by all means take it out, right? For sure, we don't want to repeat any words if we could avoid it. We want to vary our vocabulary, but well, if you are comfortable with I think this is really about one's preference. Now, one thing I would caution you about is using you. I would say avoid you, as in avoid using the preposition you, right? A lot. I would avoid using it a lot. You might use it once or twice, but I wouldn't put it in there a lot because people feel attacked when or they feel like you're speaking directly to them. That's what you is. You're speaking directly to them. If I started saying things like you need to do the homework because you didn't submit it and you this and you that, it's all about you. Yeah, you all would be okay, right? All I'm questioning is when you are writing a letter to a stranger, be cautious about the word, about overusing the word you. So definitely I wouldn't put in as many yous as I have I's here, right? All right, anyhow, so we were talking about the paragraph and it was short. Each one is a different thing. So the first paragraph is explaining who you are and why what you are writing concerning, and it's supposed to give an idea of what is going to follow, the organization that's going to follow. All right, so another student is pointing out that one of the reasons for repeating the I is because we are making a complaint. So it helps to emphasize that it's our issue. I think that is fair. I don't really think the I will be so noticeable to a reader. If like in the letter that I asked you to try for homework, and we'll look at an example in a little bit, right? You repeated I. It might sound like you were tutoring your own horn a lot. But here the issue is about something that happened to you and you want them to understand that it affected you. Like you are, as a customer, you are in a position of power. So saying I is not so bad to me in this instance. All right, but you all are making good points, which is that it will depend on the report that you're writing. Okay, the second paragraph was where we give details of the incident. Thursday, you went to the store. When you got home, you noticed milk had been expired, right? The next paragraph is more about the incident. You went back to the store and you spoke to somebody, but no refund. And then the last paragraph is what you want them to do, right? And then you're closing yours respectfully and your name, right? All right, so nothing here is too strange and unfamiliar. This is just to give us a chance to have it back in our minds what we do. All right, so here is a sample now. So this was the activity, right? Pretend you're applying for a job, as all of us have been or will be at some point. Now, and I said you could use whatever job description, job position you wanted, right? How many paragraphs should a letter be? 4 to 5. Personally, since letters are supposed to be so direct and to the point, I generally have trouble coming up with 5 paragraphs. I think 4 is adequate. 4 is fine because you're supposed to be briefer in a letter anyway. Right? So you're applying for a job as an administrative assistant or your own job at a company that you could choose. Write a letter expressing your interest and outlining the reasons you think you would be or you will be a good fit for the company. And you had a form to submit. So here is a sample that I did in keeping with my Christmas theme. Do I need to try and make this bigger? Can I make this bigger? I'm not sure. Let me try. Let me try. And then at the end, remind me if I forget that I have the same letter in a Word document to show you what it would look like, right? Maybe I should just go to the Word document. All right, let me try this last thing. And if it doesn't, no, I can't find slideshow. All right, yeah, let me just go to the Word document. All right, so here's the Word document. Now I want you to see that it's a letter. So I've tried to fit everything onto one page, right? What I should have done, but didn't do in this letter, and I can't do it now because I'm on Sir's bootleg computer, which is bootleg Word that he doesn't have an official copy for on this computer, but oh no, this is in the recording. Okay, guys, don't tell him I said that, right? All right, what I should have done, but can't do now, is put this in block format. Right? So this is for real life. And when you're writing for CSEC, it's not going to, on the computer I'm talking about, it's in block format now because everything is, the word I'm looking for is justified, right? I should have justified it in block format, right? It's in block format as much as you could get it if you're handwriting, which is that you start flush against the margin on the left and you skip a line in between. If I justify it, what is going to happen? You see how these lines are kind of hanging? It will make everything look like a rectangle. So how this line is straight, it will space out the words so that here will be straight and here will be straight, right? So in real life, if you're sending a letter, you could justify it. All right, let me just check the chat and then we'll go ahead. All right, what does re mean? So sometimes you will see this in letters. This is short for regarding, right? So sometimes in the subject line, we put in RE colon. When I did it with you last week, I don't think I did that, right? But this is short for regarding. Remember that your teacher is probably going to go over it with you in school. They may teach it either way, both are correct. I guess you could leave it out if it's just one more extra thing to remember. That will be difficult, right? All right, so let's look at the letter. I put an address, 25 Cunupia Road, Cunupia, Trinidad. Now, because I'm writing to somebody in a foreign country, this time I have put the country. Then, so I know the person's name, Mr. Santa Claus. The position I'm saying is the manager. So the internet is at everybody's disposal. Or you could call a business and ask for the manager's name if you want, right? Santa's workshop, but not in a rude way that will make them blacklist your application. You have to be polite. You could explain to them what you're doing and ask who to address it to if you want. All right, Santa's workshop, or you can just put the manager. Santa's workshop, 55 North Pole Lane, Alaska, USA. Right? Dear Mr. Claus. So we don't say dear Mr. Santa, we don't say dear Santa, he's not our friend. We use his last name and we use a title, Mr., right? So dear Mr. Claus, and you put a subject line, application for a position in customer service. All right, so first paragraph is supposed to say why you are, who you are and why you're writing. I'm writing to submit to you my application and resume for your consideration for a position in customer service in your company, should one become available. If you find that sentence is too long, then by all means, you could shorten it, right? This comes down to your personal writing style. Once it makes sense, an examiner may not care about your life. Once it's grammatically correct and it makes sense, right? So instead, what could we say? We can say, I'm writing to submit my application, because you can say the to you is understood, right? And resume for your consideration for position in customer service. So maybe you might say this is understood too for your consideration and leave it out. I like the phrase, so I might leave it in for a position in customer service. So rather than just saying a job in your company, if you know the department that you would want to work in and that your skills are suited for, then we should mention it, right? So the next thing this first paragraph is supposed to do is give an idea of what is going to come. So below, I outline my qualifications and skills. So one paragraph on qualifications, the next paragraph on skills. That would make me an asset to your organization, right? All right, so as a recent graduate of fifth form school, so now if the most recent thing you did was school, you mention that first. But if you are out in the field of work, right, then your schooling is your degrees and whatnot may not be as important, depend if it's an entry-level job like this is, right? Everybody clear on that? So if you've been working for 10 years in the field of accounting, for example, you wouldn't lead by saying, as a graduate of fifth form school, I obtained CXC passes in accounting. You would lead by saying, I have 10 years experience in the field of accounting, and you could put a company, or you might reference your resume and tell them check there, right? So since my person is most recently a graduate, we put that first. I obtained CXC passes in the business subjects of principles of business, accounts, and economics, among others, right? So I don't want it to seem like I only got these 3 passes. And also, instead of putting POB and POA, I wrote out the words, because perhaps people don't know what POB and POA is, perhaps, right? So no abbreviations there. I did, however, abbreviate CXC because that is more well known, right? And if you leave out CXC and just say I obtained passes, okay. When they check your resume, they'll see where, right? Independently, I should put a comma there after independently, right? I also pursued certificates, in customer service and an introduction to sales offered by the University of West Indies. Now, that's because these things are related to the job I'm applying for, right? They're in the field of business. So I don't necessarily need to reference science or art, right? Because if they don't pertain to the job, it will be on your CV, but you don't have to bring it up in your letter, right? Or your resume, but you don't have to bring it up in your letter. Further, I have 5 years of experience in sales as a volunteer in my family business of Smith Toys Cunupia, which sells toys to children of all ages. Now, if this person has 5 years in sales, how come I made the letter lead with schooling and not the 5 years experience? How come? If I just said the opposite. No, hurry, I'll come back to the justifying just now, right? Okay, good. So you all have gotten it. It was volunteer and also it was before the person finished school, right? So legally, we really shouldn't be working at a paying job before we are a certain age in Trinidad, right? Now people do it all the time, but I'm not going to put that in a letter so that somebody could hold it up and say, you said that you were working before you reached the age of whatever the legal age was, right? So I put volunteer and I had that be the second thing. Because even if you are working as a teenager, people might say, well, how great could your responsibilities possibly be, right? So we're still using it, but we're not using it in a way that will make us seem like less of a good candidate, so to speak, right? All right. At the end, like any good sandwich, you have a bottom piece of bread. This combination of qualifications and experience would make me an asset to your company. So you're not just saying, you know, I did this and I did this. You also have to say, these things that I've done, this is why you need them, right? Now I'm realizing I repeated an asset here and an asset up here. So that's something I might want to fix before I send out the letter. So it's very important to reread everything you write. Additionally, I am possessed of a cheerful disposition, which would make me suitable for dealing with customers. Yeah, right. I also consider myself skilled in the area of de-escalating conflicts, satisfying disgruntled customers. So as my references can attest, so you're bringing in what is in your resume. I'm a punctual and diligent employee who gives a complete effort on a daily basis. No task is too small or too large, and I'm willing to undertake all work assigned to me. So the top part is on your job, your education and related experience. So your qualifications. And then this next bottom part paragraph here is on your skills, right? So it is divided so that to help with the organization, right? I'm not saying first I did this, then I did this, then I did this, and I'm not going chronologically. I'm not just summarizing what is on my resume. I'm telling them things that they will not see on my CV or resume, right? All right, now I'm also submitting a resume, so I want them to look at it. So I mentioned it. Please find my resume attached, which contains contact information for myself and my references. Should you require further information, please do not hesitate to contact me. I hope to hear from you soon. Regards. All right, so because I did not put in, because I said, hey, I have a resume with contact information, I didn't put in a number in the last paragraph, right? That's the signature, that's the name. What I did do is sneak it in here underneath the name of someone. Have you all ever gotten an email and you find all this contact information under their name? Why is it important to attach a letter to a resume? Anybody want to volunteer an answer that they could think of? I think that, well, okay, so in the world of work, generally, when you submit a resume, you also submit a cover letter, right? And the cover letter is supposed to help people make sense of your resume. So if 10 people have passes in POA and POB and Econ, and all you're seeing is the list of grades that they have, the letter doesn't, I mean, there's no letter to explain, to give a sense of who they are and what else they've done and how the things they've done will help them fit into your company. And also, if you could write well, then people will know that you'll be a smart employee. If you cannot write well, people will have more questions about how you could contribute to the company, right? And okay, yeah, so in a chat, people are also saying that it will help people know why you want to work at the company. That's probably the major thing. It might help people know what position you want in a company, because your resume alone would not tell them what position you want. It would help people know the kind of person that you are as well, right? Sorry, okay, so let me go back. There were a couple questions. All right, I didn't put the number in the last paragraph because in the last paragraph I said, please find my resume attached. But I did sneak it in underneath the name here, right? I'm wondering now if maybe I should have left that out. In an email, this is more commonly done. So actually, I'm gonna take this out from here. Right? Okay. One other thing I want to just note on the side here, if you are writing this up in real life, Times New Roman font, not Calibri, which is the default, right? And then size 12 at least. But size 12 is the standard, right? So if you are typing this in real life, keep these conventions in mind. Justify the letter in block format, and I'll show you what that is on the PowerPoint because I can't show you on bootleg Word. Use Times New Roman font size 12, and this is generally what we're following, right? So I want to make this a little smaller for people to screenshot. They could screenshot the whole thing. Let me just put back the if I have regards where by the subject line. Right, pretend that is English. Okay. Where do I have the RE up here? This is in regards to or regarding. This is not like regards sincerely. This regards on here is like sincerely John Smith, right? The RE up here is short for regards. Oh, sorry. The RE up here is short for regarding. As in regarding the subject of. So regarding the subject of an application for a position, for a job, this is what I'm writing about. All right, so let's screenshot whatever we need to. Yeah, if you prefer sincerely, you could use sincerely there. Yeah, guys, screenshot it. You'll be able to make the screenshot bigger on your computer or whatever. It will be in a PowerPoint. I'm just trying to get everything to fit in one shot, and then, all right, that's not working then. Then we'll have to take 2 pictures then. Okay, is this better? Still too small? All right, so let me just draw back the line. All right, and remember that you're taking out these things, right? And if this were a real letter, you would sign it. Okay. So some of you could work with this. Go ahead, take a picture if you need to. And then I will try going back to the PowerPoint and I'll make that bigger. And you can take a picture there if you need to. All right, so I'm counting to 10, then I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint, right? Okay, so let us clear the screen and go back to it. So here is the PowerPoint, and I will make. All right, so first, before I do that, let me just talk about what I meant by justifying entity controls. Let me do that, right? So you go to format. You're looking for wherever it gives you the yeah, that's wind. Sorry, I don't know where the noise comes from in the background. You're hearing ghost noises, and right. So you're looking for the options that say align. And you know, we need to highlight what it is we need justified, right? Otherwise it will mess up things like the address and so on. So we go here, and this, you see this option on the right that makes everything look like straight lines that match, and it says justify. That's the option we want. It's in Word as well. And when you click it, you'll see what it does is it makes the paragraphs look like the lines are of equal length. Right? So it kind of evens out the paragraphs as opposed to having some hanging all over the place. All right. Are we able to see now? Okay, so just a reminder, great. Just a reminder that we're taking out the this piece, right? So when you write your letter, you don't need to put that in. It's not customary to put that information in a letter. You could put it in an email. That is more often done, but not so much a letter. Okay, so any questions anybody wants to ask? All right, well, I feel like we need a break after that. It was like the whole class from last week all over again. Sorry, I didn't mean to take so long. Okay, so do you have to take it down? You should keep on a copy of it somewhere as a just as an example, right? It might help you when you are actually writing the letter for a job application, right? All right. This is the same as the one before. So if you screenshotted the one before, you don't need to copy this one, right? I'm not suggesting you write it down. We don't have time. I don't have time to leave it up for us to write at this point. You can come back to the recording if you want and get it to write. But just a screenshot. Either if you have the one before, then don't worry with this one. Okay, so let's go on now. Let's do a short grammar exercise, which might be more fun. Yay! And then when we come back we'll take a short break. When we come back from break, we'll do emails rather than go straight into emails. Okay, so the grammar exercise is about commas. There's one rule that I want us to leave this summer with tattooed into our brains, right? And that rule is about one particular time when we do not use commas, actually. Right, so this is our topic. So we're switching gears a little bit, and we're looking at rules for commas. But it's really just one rule in particular because I want us to be reminded of. And the rule is this. We do not use a comma, so do not use commas to join sentences. If you have something and you find that you could put a full stop in a particular place, then it is the wrong thing to put a comma there, right? If you find that you have 2 lines or 3 lines and you find that you could put a full stop at a certain point in one, you cannot put a comma to join them. That is wrong. Now, people do the wrong thing all the time, right? But we want to become aware of it and not do it. So is this news to anybody? Does anybody use commas to join sentences on purpose? You don't have to actually answer. You can just think about it. Do you sometimes join sentences with commas? So I'm waiting a minute just for us to make a note of this, right? Commas and then this rule, right? Yeah. A lot of people do it because I think that we don't teach it properly coming up with primary school and lower forms. And so people get in the habit of joining. They say, oh, I have 2 sentences to join. Let me use a comma. No, right? So let me give you a metaphor from life while we write this down, right? So yes, you're writing this down. Think of a family and you have small children in the family. And, you know, the 7-year-old could probably watch the 2-year-old and 2-year-old would survive and not swallow anything harmful, maybe, right? So the 7-year-old is like the comma, right? But it is better if the parent watches the 2-year-old, right? Let me take that back. The 7-year-old is watching the 2-year-old. It's possible the 2-year-old might put something in their mouth they shouldn't, right? So the 7-year-old is not mature enough to take care of the 2-year-old. A comma is not strong enough or mature enough to take care of the 2 sentences. It needs a parent, and the parent is the full stop. Another possible parent could be a semicolon. Maybe there's like a grown-up who's not actually a parent, like an auntie or a young adult who could take care of the 2-year-old safely, right? So if you could put a full stop there, then you should not put a comma there. Okay, let's do some practice. All right, so I'm going to the next slide. Right, so here is a paragraph. Read it to yourself. I'm not going to read it out loud because if I read it out loud, but you could read it out loud if you're in a room where nobody will look at you like you're crazy. You could read it out loud and see where you find you might want to put full stops, or where you find you might want to put commas, right? So read the paragraph on the screen and think about what punctuation marks we would put in. So I will eventually ask you to write it. If you want to wait till after we correct it to write it, you could do that. But if you want to write it now and then use a different color pen or pencil to try and put in the marks yourself, you could do that. All right, so I'm giving 2 more minutes for this exercise. You could put your thoughts and your suggestions on what has to go where in the chat, and we'll try some of them and see if they make sense, or if when we read it out loud, we need to adjust what we think. All right, 1 more minute. Okay. So I have lots of answers. I think it's really good that y'all are trying, very good to put in. So let's go through. I'm gonna go through and put in some that that people have said, right? All right, one person has identified everywhere we need a pause, but they are still not quite, it's not well. So commas and full stops are for pauses, right? You're reading and you need to pause, right? That's how teachers teach it. We tell you when you need to take a breath, that's when you put a comma. When you need to take more of a breath, that's when you put a full stop. That's how you were taught, right? But what makes more sense is if you think about it, like when how you use the commas and the full stops to group ideas, to group words, so they make sense, right? To make sense. So if I have, for example, the phrase as a result of, oh, as a result, I think, right? That's what I have, right? Everybody has realized that I need to have either a comma or full stop, but it would be a comma. So spoiler, I've given away, right? It would be a comma here. Everybody has realized more or less we need a pause there because as a result goes together. So since this is a clear example for everyone, I'll use it to show the wrong thing, right? I would not put a comma here as a result. Because why do I need as by itself? And why do I need a result by itself? That will not make sense to anybody. So I put the comma after it. Yeah, okay, because I need to take a breath. But what is a more sensible answer? Because people need breaths at different points in time. Some people can talk more than others. What makes more sense is I need to group the words together. If I think about these words together, they mean something. As a result, means something. As, and then a result does not mean anything, right? All right, so let's look at our answers. So we have comma after ice cream. I'm just putting in some and then we'll check. Recently and I, okay, what goes by recently and I? Is it a comma? Let's see. Okay, yeah. What else we have here? We have comma. All right, so comma after ice cream. Comma by, all right, after I love ice cream. Full stop after recently. Okay, so it either comma after ice cream, and so somebody is suggesting a full stop by recently. The last sentence has a spelling error, possibly. We'll check it in a little while. Full stop after ice cream and comma after most likely. All right, let's try the comma after most likely and see when we read it through what happens. Come back, commas, come back. Right. All right. Store, comma after store, someone says. And after shortages, full stop, and after ingredients, full stop. So let's see, full stop here, full stop after shortages, comma after store. No, full stop after store, that's already there. All right, so let's look at it, right? Oh yeah, this should be the, right, this is the error. Yeah, they haven't restocked the grocery store. Okay, all right, so I can take off this because this was just for illustration, right? Okay, so let's read it through together. I love ice cream. My favorite is Willie's chocolate ice cream. Recently, I haven't seen it at the grocery store. This is because of shortages. Now, you might notice I have some pauses as I'm reading because I have to group the words so they make sense. If I read, I haven't seen it at the grocery store, this is because of shortages, I have two main ideas in there. So I need to have a pause somewhere here, right? So someone may have told me and I might have missed it in the chat. I will look back just now. I'm sure it's that Willie's hasn't been able to get their ingredients. All right, so I agree with this full stop. And I agree with this comma, right? So this M will become capital. So this part is okay here, right? We'll make this M capital. Most likely, comma, I'm sure it's that Willie's hasn't been able to get their ingredients, full stop, right? That is one main idea, so we put a full stop, right? Okay, so this will be a capital A. As a result, they haven't restocked the grocery store. Okay, and that last one is a sentence, right? And we need to put in a comma after as a result. They haven't restocked the grocery store is a main idea. So everything in front of it is called an interrupter. Okay, so we have to check back the first part. All right, are we checking back the first part? Right. Okay, good. So someone is making a correction to here. So let's look at it again. I love ice cream. Is that a complete idea? Is I love ice cream a complete idea? Yes, because it's about, I have a subject I have a main verb love, and I'm telling you what I love, ice cream, right? I and love could be a complete idea on its own, depending on the context, right? So you are talking to your friend and you say you are heartless, you have no feelings, you can't love anybody or anything, and your friend says, I love, and that's a complete idea in that context, right? Here though, if we say it, if I just said I love, it would not make sense. We're talking about ice cream, so you need the ice cream to be complete. Good. So then this comma will become a full stop, right? So I love ice cream. We cannot put a comma there because it is a complete idea, right? My favorite, if I could put a full stop there, I'm not supposed to put a comma, right? My favorite is Willie's chocolate ice cream. What is going on here? Am I trying to say my favorite is Willie's chocolate ice cream recently? Or am I trying to say my favorite is Willie's chocolate ice cream? Recently, I haven't seen it at the grocery store. Who does he recently belong to? Do I now like the ice cream, or is it lately I'm not seeing it in the grocery? What is going on? Who does he whose friend is recently? It's the grocery store, right? Because lately we have shortages, and I have now this is a real thing. And when I was writing this paragraph last week, I had just come from the grocery store, and Woolies had pineapple and some other random flavor that nobody wants, right? They had no chocolate, and I was very upset. So this paragraph, was our example, right? So yes, so the first stop goes here. This becomes a capital R. because again, my favorite is Willie's chocolate ice cream is a full complete idea, right? So I could put a full stop. So I'm not gonna put a comma. Recently, I haven't seen it at the grocery store. All right. Then I have this is because of shortages. So I need something here. What do I need there? Can I put a full stop there? Will a full stop work there? Recently, I haven't seen at the grocery store. Full stop. This is because of shortages. If I could put a full stop there, I need to put a full stop and not put a comma, right? So yes, I could put a full stop. I could put a full stop here, right? So to know if I'm using a full stop, I have to make sense of the words before and after. It's not just that the sentence starts with this, so I put a full stop, right? It's that the next thing is a complete idea on its own. This is because of shortages, so I put a full stop, right? All right, so please check over your corrections or your answers if you did it. And then quickly I will mention that wherever we have put a full stop, we could also put a semicolon instead. So if you wanted to, you could put semicolon, there's a dot and a comma, and I'm just gonna write here or, full stop, right? So if we put one there, we could probably go here and put semicolon or, right? Full stop. Right? Wherever you put a full stop, you could also put a semicolon. All right, so if there are any questions, you can put them in the chat and I'll address them now. How do you know when to use semicolons? If you could use a full stop, you could put a semicolon there. There are two main uses of the semicolon, right? The easy one is if you put a full stop, you use the semicolon. Why would you want to use a semicolon? Because maybe the two sentences are related and are close. They are ideas that belong closer together. So I love ice cream and my favorite is chocolate ice cream. Okay, well, those two could be close together. So I could put a semicolon there. Or I could also put it between two other sentences. I put it between recently, I haven't seen it at the grocery store because of shortages, because to me, those two ideas go together. Like one is the reason for the other. Can you always replace it with full stops, the semicolon? The semicolon could always be used in place of a full stop, yes. Not the other way around, eh? There are times when a semicolon is used and you can't put a full stop there because the semicolon is separating things that are not complete ideas. But if you have a full stop there, the semicolon could replace it. Okay, so that's a different. So if you got that concept and you're not confused about it, you could write it down. Can you use the semicolon instead of a comma? No, not all the time. Because remember, a semicolon can replace a full stop and you can't use a comma in place of a full stop. All right. Oops, sorry. Okay, so right here at the bottom, I'm just going to write, if this makes sense to you, take it down, but if it's confusing, then leave it and we will do this another time, right? The semicolon part. Semicolons can replace full stops. Semicolons are kind of stylish devices. You don't really need them. But they make things nice sometimes, right? All right, let's take a 5-minute break, 5 to 10 minutes, right? And we will come back. And if you want, we could discuss this some more, or else we could go into the emails, right? So I'm muting myself and I'm pausing the recording so somebody has to remind me to start back the recording. So some people might see I love ice cream and think, okay, well, this is a short sentence. I can take a short pause here and they might put a comma. But that's not, so it's not a clear definition if I say commas are for short pauses and full stops are for long pauses. I prefer to say commas and full stops are used to help groups of words make sense to us, right? And if it's a complete idea, we put a full stop. And if we could use a full stop because it's a complete idea, we should not use a comma. All right. So I want to move on from this. Any last questions we have in relation to it? Okay, so if not, I'm going to clear the screen, the mini note before. So that was this, do not use commas to join sentences. If you could put a full stop there, then it's wrong to put a comma. Do not use minors to watch other minors. If an adult needs to be there, then it's wrong to have a minor do it. That's my metaphor with family and childcare. Yeah, okay, so I'll put up the homework again before the end of class. But let me see, I think I still have the link here. I could just copy and paste it. If you just go to the Google link, it has a question in there already. So you don't necessarily have to see the screen, right? All right, so let's go ahead. Okay, we went over this already. Oh, this is another for practice, but we could do that another time. So we could do that at the end if we have time. We're going back to emails. Right. Okay, so here is a format that I would like you all to take down because I don't think we took it down last week, right? And we'll discuss it. So this is generally the format for an email, right? We have a to field, we have a from field, we have a CC field. So the to is who you're sending it to, right? And you may have to make up an email address because the question may, as he said, question may not give you an email address. So if you are making up an email address, make up something normal, please, right? So J Smith 95 at, you can leave out the 95, that's fine, at gmail.com, right? You know what you should not do? You should not write, so not Starboy 77. No offense to anybody whose email address is starboy77 at hotmail.com, right? Or gmail.com. The issue is not a domain. It's the handle. Try to use handles that are real names. Right? Coupled with real domains, but right? No superstars at hotmail.com, or just use your real name or a real name, a believable name. All right, from, so the same thing. S Claus at he has a business account, so North Pole Enterprises .org or whatever, right? So something with a name. Do you skip a line between the two and from? You could if you want to. If you don't, no big deal. I have one here just to make it look neat. The objective is to make sure it looks neat. So if you are a messy writer and the skipping lines will be will help your work look neat, that's fine. But if you're a neat writer and your handwriting is small and you don't need to skip a line, that's fine, right? So the point is skipping a line is optional. In an email, skipping a line is optional, right? Something is blocking instruction. Okay, sorry. That is the chat. So let me minimize it for now. So I won't see the chat comments for a little while, right? Oh, wait, no, maybe it's this. This pen is asking us to update it, but we're not ready to commit to that yet. All right, so skipping a line is optional. So you can write this in the margin, but I have no margin, so. All right, you will hear some music for a little while. A music bus is passing, literally a bus that is playing music. Okay, it's gone. All right, so CC is anyone else that you're sending it to. So let's just make sure we understand what the fields are, right? If you do IT or if you work in the world of business, or you may have had some course already to know what these mean, right? So CC is short for carbon copy. You know, like when you're making a receipt and you put a sheet of carbon paper in between the two pages to get the copy for yourself, and then you give away a copy, that's carbon, right? So this is to copy someone, right? BCC is to copy someone secretly. Right, and by the way, I meant skipping a line in the addresses. It's optional, right? Okay, and when you write an email, I put RE here, but often what you will see is subject, right? I think some platforms you may see RE, but a lot of platforms you see subject. So a brief, just like with the subject lines for letters and reports, a brief topic summary, right? Like this. What is the email going to be about? So a brief topic summary. Okay, so make sure if you already know what the CC and BCC stand for, then you don't need to write that part down. But just to make note of what you need, right? So if you need a reminder that you have to use a real name. And then more or less the body is the same format as for a letter. Introduction, who you are, why you're writing, what will be the order of what follows next. You're just hinting at it. We don't really want to say, first I will tell you about the requirements of the job. Next, I will inform you about, you just want to say it briefly. So the following contains details about the requirements and procedures. The letter is so short that an email is so short rather that if you're too wordy with that, it will stand out in the reader's mind as an example of wordiness. All right. Body, important ideas as briefly as possible. 2 to 3 short paragraphs. You know, for an email, I want to even say it could be 1. So let me also put in 1 here. 1 or 2 or 3 short paragraphs. So maybe 1 to 3 rather than 2 to 3. So an email might even be shorter than a letter, So I'm changing this to 1, right? 1 to 3 short paragraphs of a few sentences each. Conclusion, mention the attachments. So if you've attached any pictures, if you've attached a scan of a page, what would you like them to do? Do you want them to message you if they have any problems? Do you want them to call you if they have questions? What? And then again, you're closing. So respectfully in your name, regards in your name, your friend and your name, sincerely in your name, whatever, right? Okay, any questions? Go ahead and put them in the chat. So I'm giving everybody time now to write down this format. The B in BCC stands for blind. If you're sending an email to multiple people and you use BCC, the BCC person will see everybody else, and the person you send it to wouldn't know that you send it secretly. Everybody, let me see. No, that's not true. The BCC person would see the to part and the CC part. But if you have anybody else in the BCC field, they wouldn't see that. Everybody, all the addresses in the BCC field are blocked. The B is for blind. Blind carbon copy, right? They're all blocked. So like if I have to send an email for the class, this group of students, this 200 plus group of students, right? But y'all don't know each other, and y'all don't know, you know, if there are any trolls mixed into the list. So you may not want everybody having a copy of your email address, right? I would have to protect that privacy. So I would set up the email. I would say to, and I might send it to myself. I could put my address there because presumably you all would have my address. And then, so even if the from is the same, I'm just saying this is a real life example, right? Not a CSEC example that they would give you, but a real life example. So I could put my address in the to, it would automatically be my address in the from. For the carbon copy, I could put my address again, right? Or I could put Sir's address, because maybe you all already have his email address and he doesn't mind if you get it. In the BCC field now, I would put everybody else's address, right? So in the BCC, I would put everybody in the class, I would put their email address. And the email would go to me, and it would be copied to everybody in the BCC field. And all y'all would see is my email address. And if I put an email address in the carbon copy part, if I put it in Sir's part, so he knows that I did what I said I would do, then you would see his address too. But you would not see each other's if I put all of you in the BCC field. Right, so is that clear? Anybody still confused? Kind of. All right, well, you know, y'all could try it. If you have 2 email addresses, you could experiment with it. Right, but the point is just that I want you to be aware that there's a BCC file. I mean, option, there's a BCC option. And that is when you want to send something to other people, but block their address to the other people copied on the email, right? So again, if I want to send something to 200 people, but I don't want the 200 people to see each other's emails because I want them, they want to keep their information private, I would put my address in the to file, in the to space, and I would put all of their addresses in the BCC space, and I would send it. So all they will see is it came from me and it was sent to me. And they will not see the others. They'll figure out though that, okay, well, you BCC'd a bunch of people. As opposed to if I put everybody's address in the CC file, and then you could look through and you could see everybody's email address in the CC file. All right, anybody still writing this down? Let me know. Otherwise, we want to do an example together. All right, so one person is, so I could give 2 more minutes. A couple of people are, go ahead. I could give a few more minutes, right? All right, so I'm giving 2 more minutes. If anybody wants to take another short 2-minute break, only 2 minutes, right? And then we will continue. So I'm muting myself, but I'm right here, 2 minutes. All right, so in my from space here on the screen, with my terrible handwriting, I pretended that Santa Claus was responding to the letter. I put S Claus at North Pole at ENT because that was short for enterprises .org, right? But in real life, the from field will be autofilled in your email and it will be your email address, right? But you can put anything you want in there, honestly. I put S Claus at northpoleent.org, but you could put anything you want. That is a plausible name, right? No Starboys, no Flower Girls, no Blue Sky, and so on. All right, are we done here? Anybody still writing? Okay, so let's pretend that, so I'm clearing the screen. Thanks, guys. Everybody seems to be done, right? Let's pretend that we are Santa Claus responding to the person's letter. Oops, sorry, okay, one person still is. Let me see if I can get back the. Okay, right, so go ahead and finish up quick, or take a screenshot. And then we have to move on, right? The capital letters and the common letters are totally up to you because email addresses have both. So whether you put J in capital and S in common, or J in capital and S in capital, or both in common, it's up to you. All right, so I'm coming. Okay, great. So we're going ahead now, right? Let's do an email. So let's pretend that our letter to Santa Claus was received, and he has his human resources person send back a letter, send back an email, because they are busy people, and who writes letters anymore? Emails are much faster. Okay, so that is something to consider too, that you might need to, if you are applying a cold call for a job. So it's not a position, but you think you might want to work at the company. That's something to consider, that you might send an email instead of a letter, right? All right, let me just get a blank slide. All right, so here is our sample email. So I'm going to type, and I hope we should be able to. Oh, what is this? Right, I hope we should be able to see this with no problem, right? So sample email. All right, so what is the first format if you're doing an email? All right, so here's a scenario. Santa tells HR. What does HR stand for? Anybody knows what HR stands for in the context of a company? Many of you know, very good. Human resources, right? So most companies actually have a human resources, not most, actually, many large companies have a human resources management, not management, manager or person in charge of human resources, and they might be the person who handles the applications, right? All right. Okay, great. So the two, they're emailing you, and well, we wrote as John Smith, we were pretending to be John Smith. So J, I can put all comments, let's put all comments. J Smith. All right, so people commonly put their birth year as part of their email. So all right, I'll do that. That's not my birth year though, I'm much older, right? All right. Then we have from. So what might HR's email address be? What might human resources email address be? What are reasonable possibilities? Guys, so I'm asking, so human resources is emailing you on Santa's behalf, right? Or per Santa's instructions. What would be a reasonable address to put for HR? Right, something with human resources in it. Yeah. Human resources, North Pole. All right, now let's say we do take human resources, North Pole. Remember that we wouldn't have spaces, right? So let's do human resources or even HR, North Pole at gmail.com. And you know what? Sometimes we see this. We see dot North Pole at gmail.com. Right. Another option you have, I'm going to type this, but then delete it. So take it on if you want it, right? You could type human resources or HR if you want, right? And some companies get their personal domain names. So at North Pole Enterprises.com, right? So, I mean, I guess possible they could have extrafoods.com or lowcostsupermarket.com, or sometimes people pay for that extra service, right? So that's also an option. But I think we're okay with the one on top, so I'll take that out. All right. Anybody just copy it too, so that we see them making you a job offer. What other department would need to see that this email is going out? That is who we might carbon copy it to, right? So the person wanted to work in customer service, so we could carbon copy it to customer service. And then if up above we had .North Pole, we could put .northpole.com. All right, is the font, this is a good question. The email font size and style, is it Times New Roman 12 as well? No, not necessarily. Just now, I'm gonna finish this before I lose my train of thought. Gmail.com. Just make sure it's not too small, not too big, but whatever the email has as its default is fine, right? You don't make it smaller and you don't make it bigger unless it is really small and you need to make it bigger, right? Email doesn't have the same expectation of font and size. All right, so we're CCing it to customer service. And who might we want to BCC it to, if anybody? Who would we want to secretly send this letter to or this email to? The CEO. Okay, so they would know we did it. All right. Well, right. Santa told us to do it. Maybe we are Santa's personal assistant as well. And so we might want to BCC it to Santa, who could be the CEO, right? So I'm just going to put Santa since that's the story we're going with. Next week, July will be over, so I'll have to find something else other than Christmas in July to add to narrative. Okay, so Santa dot North Pole at gmail.com. Right? You could also use Yahoo, you could use Hotmail, you could use any other popular enough domain name that's real. Right? All right. So now I come to my subject line. So see, here I haven't skipped any lines. In part, that is because I don't have a lot of space. If I skip too much lines, it will make the font too tiny for us to read. But you don't have to skip lines in an email once it is neat. What is our subject? What are we writing about? Well, we're going to, you either say, you know, well, in emails for sure, you see re a lot. Because when you hit reply, it comes up with RE, right? So you can say job application. Let me leave that out. We just say subject job application. Or you could say job opportunity, because that's what we're going to have, right? Job opportunity in customer service. Or you could say job offer. Right? Okay, so if we were writing to apply for the job, we would say applying for a job or job application. Right? Now, we would not say, so we do not want to have a subject that says something like, good day, we are responding with a job offer in customer service, right? That is not an appropriate subject line for an email or anything really. That's not a subject line. That's the first line of your whatever you're writing, right? So job offer in customer service. People are laughing, but I have gotten subject lines from that, like that, from students. Not in like, and not even in like test situations, no, but in real life. Yes, exactly. The subject is getting the point. So say the point and move on. And I don't think I'm going to put the re. The re will appear in real life if you're hitting reply to something. But CSEC wouldn't expect you to have a re necessarily in the subject line, right? Okay, so now we get into the email. So we say, how are we going to start? We don't need to put addresses in our email, right? So dear Mr. Smith. So we're keeping it formal. We're not saying dear John, right? And why are we writing again? We're going to offer him a job, right? So we are pleased. So you could be writing while I'm writing, taking an example, or you could write your own version of this, right? We are pleased to offer you an entry-level position within our company in the customer service division, right? Below, please find, okay, to me, this might not be necessary. The below, please find, I think that is too wordy, so we can say, we write to provide you let me leave that out for now. I know I said we should put in something that hints at what is coming next, but everything I put in now feels like it will be a little wordy because the email will be short, right? So let's see if when we're done, we'll come back and we'll put in something after if we need it, right? All right, so what would we be offering him? What would we be telling him about the hours or anything? Okay, you know what? This seems like it would be a great homework exercise. How many hours he has to work and what days? Yes. Okay, good. So this would be homework exercise, right? Homework. So you all put in the chat what you think the hours you'll be working for, right? Homework. So complete the email with the hours and days he has to work. The uniform requirements, if any, the uniform or dress code requirements. Right, the rate of pay, right? Good. Anything else? All right. Any restrictions or rules? No, the noise you hearing today is not DJ, it's the breeze, the wind. I think it sounds like a ghost and yeah, but I don't know where the window is closed, so I don't know where this wind noise is coming from. But it sounds like we have a ghost, but it's just wind. Right, well, we have salary, so that will be how much money he's making, right? How many days of vacation, sick leave, right? Restrictions or rules or protocols. Okay. Now you don't have to put in everything. You could just pick and choose what you want, right? Anything else? All right, so I'll come back to BCC at the end since some of us still have questions about it, right? All right, anything else we want to put in the email? I think maybe responsibilities, we didn't say, unless that is what we meant by protocols, right? All right, so complete the email with information such as, right? So you do not have to include something on everything, right? You could pick and choose what you want to put in the email, keep the email short. So you may not be able to include everything, right? Yes, you will submit the homework using the same documents, the same link as last week. So what I will do is I will go back to the form and I will edit the form so that you could submit a second question, right? Would each point be a different paragraph? We still only want about two body paragraphs and then a concluding paragraph, right? So you might have to group something. So you might put the hours and the days together as well as the salary together. And you might put the rules and the dress code and the vacation and sick leave together. Or you might lump all those things together and then in another paragraph do job responsibilities. Right? All right. So you could start off the email the way we have started it off together. And then the rest of it, I'm asking you to try to complete on your own as your own sample email, right? And you're sending it to the same place that you would have sent the previous letter that you did, right? So submit the email using the same link, which I will put back in the chat in a minute, right? I will go and edit it by this evening. So this option, question 2 option will be available from this evening. From, let me say tonight. So let me say by tomorrow morning. So question 2 option will be available by Sunday, right? Everybody clear on that? So you'll see a question 2 and you'll submit it, right? Now, if you didn't do question 1, and you're not going to do question 1, because the question is compulsory, just enter like a character and hit submit on question 1, right? So some people already got feedback on their first set. I have to change the settings so that you'll be able to answer question 2. So again, it'll be ready by Sunday, tomorrow. So don't try today. It might be ready by today, but most likely by Sunday. Yeah, I still have a few more to send my comments on. So hopefully over the weekend I'll be able to send those. Can you still submit question 1? Yes. So I will change the settings so even people who submitted question 1 could edit if they want. I have to do that in order for you to be able to submit question 2 on the same link, right? Okay, so here again is the link, right? If you, I'm going to pause the recording now because I think that we're done covering the content we need to cover for today. If you have any questions, you could mention them now and I'll address it pertaining to class and the topics we are doing.